be.
I can be.
While I break it down.
Scott. I can be.
Scott, believe.
I can be. I can be.
Whatever you wanna be.
I can be.
Just have to believe.
I can be.
Special.
I can be. I can be.
One more time,
I can be.
just say I can. Mama always told me that I could be whatever. Anything I'm doing good, I can do better. Don't be afraid to fail, just try. Follow your heart, don't lose your smile. Not everybody will like what you do, but don't let it stop you from being true to you. And at the end of the day, all that you have to say, you're beautiful, you're talented, you're a star. You're a star.
I'm beautiful, I'm talented, I'll go far.
And you're sure to go far. You're beautiful, you're talented, you're a star. Yeah.
I'm beautiful, I'm talented, I'll go far.
You're beautiful, you're talented, you're a star. Now repeat after me.
I'm beautiful, I'm talented, I'll go far.
One more time.
My name's Asari St Hill, and this is a pilot for Mind Your Business on HMP TV. We're going to be covering a range of our people in our community, from small to big businesses, to share their experiences with us in an interview format, where we'll be sharing some ideas of their challenges, the good experiences, their next projects, and just sharing with you basically to show that in our community there's many different business owners in all different types of industries who are having great successes and got great stories to tell. But our stories are not going to focus on tragedy and misery. They're going to focus on the positive aspects and things that we think you, the viewers, can learn from us in business, and some great tips for you to take away in your businesses, and hopefully you can succeed as well. So today we have two guests. We have Michelle and Teo with us today. They're going to talk to us about their businesses and share some ideas about their businesses and just share their experiences with us. So just to start off with, if Michelle, you could start first, just tell us how long you've been in business and what do you do?
Well, I've been in the events industry. I run an events management agency called Dynamic Events, and I've been in the events industry since 2001, and just always wanted to be in business. That was one of my ambitions. So I kind of just started off with very small event companies and conference companies, and graduated to sort of really large corporate, building up my experience as I went along and learning best practice, and then started in business in 2009. So I've been in business, 9 years almost.
Excellent.
So.
Brilliant. And Teo, when did you start in business and what made you start?
My name is Tayo Dawu. I run a business called ELC Associates. We're a marketing and PR company. I started in business really at the onset of the desktop publishing era. I recognized that was an interesting field to be in. So I started primarily doing printing. So I offered our printing services primarily to charities, housing associations, and small businesses. And then from that, I moved into marketing, because I recognized that many of these charities, for argument's sake, wanted us to market their event for them that would produce the publications. So that was how we slowly got into marketing. And then went and did a degree in PR, and then I added PR to our list of services. So now we run, in the internet age, a range of services from web design, print, marketing, our own speciality, which is PR.
Brilliant. Now, one of the things in business is that we talk about the importance of starting with goals and having a vision for the business and all that. So what sort of challenges did you have? I'm sure you had your own vision for your business and what you wanted to achieve. So what sort of challenges have you had on the way in terms of achieving those things?
Well, I think that I had my goals, I think, were a bit too small when I started out, because I think I achieved my initial first set of goals within the first couple of years, which was international events and doing events overseas. So I had to kind of rethink and create a bigger vision, which was things like doing collaborations and joint ventures and things like that, and doing more events in the African community and so on. So yeah, and in terms of challenges, I think if you have a goal to sort of have particular types of clients, and then you have that experience of having that client, you think, yeah, love this. How do you go and find more of those clients? So my sticking point has always been around marketing, actually. Marketing what I do, which I'm probably not that good at because I don't always sing my own praises. I usually prefer my clients to sing my own praises and grab testimonials. But yeah, so marketing, finding platforms to market my services other than word of mouth and referral. How do I actually go out and get customers?
What about yourself? Did you have a sort of vision that when you started, and what sort of challenges have you faced?
Yeah, I mean, my vision was to build a growing printing and marketing services. I think the challenges were many small businesses face is trying to compete with the big boys, trying to find a way where you can be agile and get known, but yet be competitive. So initially, like any small business, there was a lot of legwork, going out there, knocking on doors, a lot of meetings with prospective clients, and then slowly beginning to get your name out there. Second challenge, like any small business, is initially was capitalization.
Yeah.
Being able to fund the larger print jobs. So, for instance, we may have made a contact with, let's say, a large organization that wanted to do 20,000 booklets, but we didn't have the credit worthiness to, with the suppliers to be able to fund those kind of projects. So capitalization and obviously, challenges of the bigger competitors was initially, I would say, our main challenges. But over time, as we proved ourselves and we've become known in the industry for providing a quality service, people began to come to us rather than us go to them.
Yeah.
And I think that is the difference. That's when you know that you're beginning to make it, when people are knocking on your doors and asking for your services rather than you knocking on their doors and selling your service. And I think that is the turning point for us when we begin to recognize.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, because one of the key things in marketing is about, we call it outbound marketing. It's generally marketing, what most people do. But when you start getting the inbound marketing, that's when it starts to get really interesting. Could you give us any examples of sort of clients that you've worked with, or any particular clients you want to mention?
I've worked for some amazing clients, some African clients where I've been able to go to Nigeria, for example, and East Africa and South Africa. So Mrs. Udo Okonjo runs Fine and Country West Africa, and she's one of the most recognised women in real estate in Nigeria, and I did an amazing UK launch dinner and exhibition for her company last year. So she was pretty awesome to work with, a delight to work with, and an absolute lady. Other people like, one of my most current clients is a Tai Chi therapy guru from Hong Kong. I guess the international theme is rocking here, and he wants to launch himself in the UK. I guess my area of specialism, which is what I'm developing, is being able to provide that platform and service for overseas companies that might want to launch themselves in the UK. So, Titan Lam is a Tai Chi therapist that wants to launch himself within the NHS and doing Tai Chi therapy events for members of the public. So that's my current very exciting project.
And could you tell us a little bit about the size of... So when you say there's a lot of people out there say they organise events. Mm-hmm. Now, there's organising an event that's for my children's birthday. 20 people. And there's organising an event for a corporate or big institution. Where would you put yourself in that?
Yeah, there's different ends of the spectrum, and it's all about experience and sort of where you get that experience. I mean, a lot of event organisers now coming up are getting that grassroots experience. So they're doing the parties and the christenings and the sort of celebration events for family, and then realising that they've got that skill and they want to do it. And it's amazing, and there's a lot of market for that and a lot of opportunity. I started my career in the industry, so I got into the events industry, working on niche conferences with 80, 100 people, and I guess now I can do anything from all sort of corporate events. I don't really specialise in private events. It's more corporate events. In terms of scale, I've done a conference for about 1,000 people before. I've done an exhibition for about 30,000 people. So I guess that's a sort of scale. Dinners for up to about 250 people sit down. So I guess that's like my sort of scale of things. And in terms of quality of client, yes, corporates, conference organisers, professional services, charities, entrepreneurs, work very well closely with entrepreneurs. But in terms of where I am, in terms of am I doing events for Coca-Cola yet and all that, I guess that's yet to come.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So with you, Teo, what about yourself? What sort of clients have you worked with?
We've worked with a wide range of charities. In terms of size, we've worked with organisations like War on Want. We worked with large housing associations like Ujima and some of the Westway housing associations. I mean, our largest client to date, I would have to say, was work we did for GSK, which is a large pharmaceutical organisation. And they wanted to.
This is GlaxoSmithKline,
yes,
is it?
Glaxo,
Mention that because some people want
to
sorry, what are they?
Sorry.
But no, they're big. That's very big.
Yes, GlaxoSmithKline. They got in a bit of trouble once with their PR in terms of they were selling overpriced HIV treatment drugs in South Africa many years back. So as a way of counteracting that, they started a PR campaign in the UK there was something called African HIV/AIDS Helpline based in Manchester, which was relatively unknown, and then we were tasked through GSK of increasing their awareness. So that was a very big contract, and essentially we had to go on radio stations and let people know about the helpline. We had to produce magazines, leaflets, and posters, and distribute it throughout the African community. So that was the largest. Another very large organisation we did work for was Greenwich PCT. That was Primary Care Trust, as it was known then, when they were trying to decrease the rate of smoking amongst the ethnic community of Greenwich. So we were tasked again with trying to engage the BME community of Greenwich to take up the stop smoking services that were out there. So that again meant collaborating with the mosques and the temples and various community organizations and really trying to create awareness of this service. So these are just two of the PRs. On the printing side, numerous. We've done work for people like BBC, Sickle Cell Society, so a whole range of print on PR.
Great stuff. So what's next?
Oh wow, what's next? So I'm in the throes of setting out the event. Well, we've done the event strategy with the Tai Chi guru I was mentioned earlier, Titan Lam. So this is where I am right now. So we're planning and executing a series of events, reaching out to the NHS and building up that awareness, starting to build up that awareness over the next 12 to 18 months. That's my main project at the moment. And then I've started a second business, so yeah, I guess that's what's next as well, and that's an online video yoga business called Dynamic Yoga. So I'm very actively learning about online marketing and sales and promotion and trying to get that out there in the world as well.
Excellent. Okay, and what about yourself, Teo? What's next for you?
I've got two projects. One, as I alluded to earlier on, I want to do more work around health promotion, in particular with the BME community. There are a lot of certain health challenges that the BME community has, in terms of diabetes, high blood pressure, organ failure, and there's some issues that are particularly for the BMA community. And we hope to engage with more NHS trusts, not just in London but across the UK, to get more into that role or that aspect of PR, and especially now that we've got the internet, and we've got a whole range of different ways that we can push the health message out to our community. So health PR, I would say, is where we see one side of our work going. In terms of the other side, I've developed a website called ebonyonline.net, which we want to build into the most comprehensive listings of Black entertainment in London. So currently we list concerts, theatres, and we do interviews with directors, theatre people. So we just want to have that as a platform in hopefully in the future, where people looking for Black entertainment can visit our website or our portal and know what's going on within the community.
Excellent. So I'm sure our viewers would want to know what sort of tips, if you had 2 or 3 things you could share with somebody out there right now who wants to be in your industry, what 2 or 3 things would you say to them?
I think it's really important because the events business is all about people. So remain authentic, be a perfectionist and do it well. Because remember, every event it's like being in sales. Your last, what is it? You're only as good as your last sale. So guard your reputation and make sure that every event you put out is something that you're proud of. So that would be the first thing I would say. And then second of all, I guess be ambitious, because the events industry is developed so much. There's so much opportunity. There's so much opportunity to collaborate with different organisations and different people. So be open-minded around not just wanting to do. If you've got a vision to do an event, you don't have to just do it by yourself. Look for partners. Look for collaborators. I think there's also a massive opportunity there. And then I said about being authentic, because people buy people, and the event industry is all about people who can't manage or develop an event without being able to relate to people, or bring people together, or galvanise people, or catalyse a process. So yeah, just be your authentic self really, and build the event business around that.
Excellent. And what about yourself, Taya? What sort of tips would you give somebody?
I would keep it more generic. First of all, I would say have some sort of business plan. It's very important to know. I mean, it's been said often and often again, but as we know, many people don't start off with a business plan. It's important to plan what you're going to do in business, especially in the area of cash flow. Cash flow is very important to sustain any business, large or small. So some kind of strategic business plan. It doesn't have to be 50 or 30 pages. It can just be something where you've thought through some of the major things that are going to challenge you in your business. Secondly, capitalization. Money, especially at the start of a business, is crucial, and people underestimate how much is needed. So whatever you think is going to need, double or triple it, because usually that is how much it's going to take. So capitalization, business plan, and as Michelle said earlier on, collaborate. You can't do everything by yourself. You don't have even if you're passionate, you don't have the physical energy or the time or the skill to do everything. Look at areas that you're good at, and look at those areas that you can outsource. We live in an age of digital age where you'd be surprised what you can outsource. There's virtually nothing that these day and age you can't outsource to somebody else. So look at what I call being agile. Look at your strength and keep those to yourself, but at the same point, try not to think of doing everything by yourself and being too precious. You need to let go. Recognize you need to let go and get certain things done. Done, in my view, is better than perfect. And lastly, just recognize that business is a slog. It's a slog. If you look at, and I take the metaphor of sports. If you watch people in Olympic Games, they didn't get there by just jumping over a hurdle, once a week. These people are putting years of effort, often from when they were 9, 10 years old. My son has been playing football since he was 6 years old. And so that is the age, so it's a long slog. And that is a sensible business. You can't expect to build a solid, sound business in a year or so. If you don't go through the pitfalls, you don't know what is going to come for you in the future. Some people have done that. They've made a bit of money either through property or whatever, and have not had that business slog, and they've lost all that money. So be prepared and recognize that business is a long slog, which may mean that you may have to do the business part-time at the beginning, until the income that you want start to flow in. But have that mindset that it's going to be a long slog and not something that we see on the internet now, where you get overnight millionaires.
Yes.
Very rare,
yes,
very
they
rare.
do happen, but they are few and far between.
Brilliant. One thing that's really interesting in our community is so many of people who get into business, so-called black businesses, target all their business at a very small percentage of the population. The black population in the UK is estimated anything around 1% to 0.5% of the population. But yet there's 99% of the population that's not necessarily being targeted at all. So every time we have these interviews, we're going to talk about this as an issue and just get to understanding about people who are successful in business, how have they made their business broader. And then on another level, bigger than that, is that the world is much bigger than just England. The UK population may be 65 million, but the world population is now billions. And with the onset of the internet and lots of other tools out there, you can reach people in any part of the world. So we're going to ask questions about this every single time. So over to yourselves. One of the things you talked about your clients. What do you think about this question about, are you a black business or are you a business people? Who are you aiming at? Who are your clients?
I'm a black business owner. I think we need to be really, really clear about that. My clients come from all over the world. I've travelled all over the world to deliver events. So I've got an international client base from all different communities, as I've just said. One of my recent clients is from Hong Kong, so from the Asian community. I've had Asian clients, I've had white clients, I've had black clients, but I've also worked in the industry. So I've come into business from a different entry, I guess. So I worked in the European or the UK event industry before I went into business. So therefore, I have that training and that background and that best practice, and also some of those clients, some of those my past employees are now my clients as well. So yeah, I think it's important to think wide, think global, think scalable, developing a business that is scalable and that can reach, as you said, 100% of the population, not just a smaller community. Excellent. Or your own community.
And what's your take on this question?
Well, I would say I'm first and foremost a business owner, and then secondly, by default, a black business owner. That's how I would usually answer those questions. On the question of business, I would say the most important thing we talked about earlier was that the business should be scalable. I think, in my viewpoint, there's nothing wrong with only having the black community as your market if there's potential for scalability. Yes. So, for example, you could be a hairdresser where you only serve black women as your customers. Now, if you're thinking scalability, there's no reason why you can't branch out from, let's say, East London, firstly, to having branches across London, to having branches across the UK. So there, I mean, by the time you've conquered that market, that is a sizable market in itself. And then you can then, as Michelle said earlier on, look at diversifying. So obviously, once you've got all these salons set up across London, and obviously you get cash flow coming in, you can diversify into products, hair products, and then look at supplying these products across the UK, following the same model, or across Europe. You see, so to my viewpoint is that, or you can take the view that you want your business to have that aspect of diversity from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, with my particular business, when I went into print, print is universal in my view. Print is not something that's done by black businesses or done by white businesses. People just want quality print at a good price. Yeah. So I deliberately went into a business where I saw potential for scalability and diversity. Yeah. But going back to what we were saying earlier on, I initially focused on a certain sector, which were black charities, because I saw them as, for want of a better word, the lowest hanging fruit. We had similar backgrounds. They understood me, I understood them. So that was a deliberate strategy to target that particular sector of a very huge market. London alone, there are 120,000 charities. And so there's a huge sector, but the percentage of black charities were very small. But obviously, I felt that if I worked with that sector first, built up my knowledge, built up my credibility, built up my track record, I'll then be able to attract larger businesses. To go back to what Michelle was saying, yes, your business could build something that you're thinking of globally from the onset. For instance, HMP TV, it serves a global audience. So it's logical for that kind of business to be thinking globally from the onset. So I think really it's important, it comes back to what we were saying very early on, when you summarize that it's part of your business plan, part of your strategic vision. And that vision your vision can be to serve a particular niche. Some people are quite happy with that and dominate that niche, or to serve a bigger population.
Interesting, brilliant. No, really, really good. We have something we call the RAS. There's a buzzword for you. The RAS, which is the Reticular Activating System. And if you set your RAS, which is your goal, set your RAS to be global, as big as possible, you'd be surprised what things come your way. You set the ideas around and you'd be surprised what comes into your path, because your mind is open to the possibility of this coming towards you. And therefore, when something comes by, rather than you just not notice, you actually can pick up the opportunity that you could pick up a business opportunity. So once again, thank you very much. I just mentioned the RAS, which is the Reticular Activating System. It's a part of the brain. When you set a goal or you set your mind to something, you'll be surprised how many times it picks up. It's like if you're going to buy a car and you think of a certain car, BMW, whatever it might be, you set your RAS, I want to buy this car. And then suddenly everywhere you go, you keep saying, oh, loads of people got this car. Or somebody's pregnant, and you just suddenly see everybody's pregnant. But it's not. It's just that you've raised your level of understanding about it. So in business, we have the same thing. We want to set your RAS, which is set your opportunities to think bigger and think global. So bearing that in mind, we're going to always be asking our guests some questions around how can we scale our businesses and how can we, go bigger or on the global scale. So with that in mind, Michelle, what's your thoughts on, how do you make your business, or, as an event organizer, or, in your business, how is it practical? What are the practical way of how do you go global?
Yeah, well, I mean, the organising in the event is largely process driven, right? So it's project management. So you have to have those processes you have to nail those processes, because you're not going to get an overseas client coming to you or a UK client saying to you, can you organise my event overseas, if you don't know how to organise one in the UK, because it's an extra layer of complexity doing an event overseas. So the process, you have to nail your processes and know your processes inside out. The other thing I'd say is best practice. That's linked to processes. So, are you at the top of your game? Do you know what top event organising companies do it and how they do it? have you done it? Have you worked for them? That kind of thing. Those kind of things need to, I think, be in your CV. And then the other thing is a track record. Track record of doing events well in the UK and then overseas is always good, because if you do one event overseas, then you're going to get more. And lastly, and that probably the most crucial thing in the events industry is trying to pull off an event overseas, is having local partners. So destination management companies, or DMCs, are really what you need. My company is a UK DMC. So if anyone wants to organise an event in the UK, I've got local knowledge of restaurants, venues, suppliers, etc. So you need to get your opposite in whatever country that you're going to. So DMCs are destination management companies.
And then in terms of the opportunity, I don't know, I run an airline industry in China, or I run an industry in some part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
How would I know to contact you? What have you used any platforms, or how have people find out? You can be good at what you do and nobody knows you.
Yeah.
So how do people find out about
largely
you?
word of mouth, because obviously, clients refer you. So now I've got my client in Hong Kong. He's already said that he'd love to pass sort of Chinese clients to me and other companies that want to come to the UK. But there's organisations like BNI, which is BNI Connect. So this is how I got my Hong Kong client and some of my Asian clients. So being part of a referrals organisation is going to be relatively key, so people can pass you referrals, and then also being visible in your own industry. So being part of my industry is Meetings Professional International, which is our industry association for meeting planners, for example. So I would suggest kind of being part of that type of organisation as well. And then maybe in terms of sort of making yourself visible for international projects generally, something like what was the UKTI but is now what's it called now? The International, I forget what it's called now, but it's the organisation that helps connect UK businesses up with the overseas opportunities.
Yeah.
So those would be my three areas that I would focus on. Being part of a referrals organisation that gives you that's an international organisation that helps you be visible internationally. Being at the top of your game and therefore being part of a industry association. So therefore, also that means that you are you have best practice in your business, you understand best practice, and you're at the top of your game. And then thirdly, being part of the kind of the sort of establishment, UK establishment, so that you're visible for overseas opportunities as well.
Great stuff. And yourself, Theo, but how would you in your industry?
If I use for arguments, if I take the print industry first, similar to what Michelle said, there are many national organisations associated with print that you can join, and then look for overseas potential connections via that. Secondly, within the print industry, as we mentioned earlier on, you have public sector contracts, and as you know, since we're now part of the EU, these contracts are now across Europe. So there's no reason why as an organisation, if you're able to fund it, why you're not able to bid for a contract to do printing of a brochure within Hungary or Denmark, because it's been part of the UK, as a part of the EU, all of these opportunities are open. Mm-hmm. So it's no longer, anybody can bid. So that's another way of reaching a wider audience by making use of all these public sector portals, such as Tender Daily, where you can go online and see what contracts are in various fields, events management, print, PR, of certain values across. And thirdly, as mentioned earlier on, lots of countries have trade organizations, trade missions, where they want to have inward investments into their country. Mm-hmm. So you can get in contact with the various embassies, find out what trade missions that they're conducting, or what conferences. For instance, now went to business show last week. There was, and I met people who were organizing a Ugandan trade conference where they're looking for businesses between the UK and Uganda, and I'm sure there are many other ways of other countries doing that. And then lastly, as Michelle mentioned, there are national organisations who are actively encouraging UK businesses to do business with other countries, usually via some kind of trade mission, that's subsidised, by the UK government. So these are the various ways one can think of going globally.
I must mention, given that the Brexit vote has happened, I must mention to both of you, do you think that opens up, because you mentioned about European Union, but clearly Britain's going to be out of, we're not sure what they're negotiating at the moment, but they're likely to be out, they're going to be out of the European Union. Do you think this is an opportunity for people for our community even to think beyond the European Union, because that's the kind of definition we've had, but to think
Yes. I mean,
globally.
I think two things will happen. The UK as a nation will begin to build more links with Africa and the Caribbean, thereby opening opportunities for our community, because obviously we have connections there to do business there. So there's no doubt that there's going to be, hopefully, that increase in opportunities. I don't think the trade with Europe will change as extensively as we imagine. I think it just become more difficult to do business, and thereby only certain companies would think of entering. I think the barrier to entry, will get higher. But from what you said, definitely there will be more, I think, in my viewpoint, opportunities for African and Caribbean countries as Britain looks to do more business with these nations. And interesting enough, with nations like India and Brazil, the BRIC countries,
huge markets,
whereby we can, as BME businesses, feed on that, and work on the back of that, because obviously we are still known, we still have connections with the Asian community and with the South American community in the UK, because we are all lumped together as BME communities.
Interesting, excellent. Okay, so just before we finish off, a little bird tells me that you've got a second business. What's this new business venture? Can you tell people a little bit about your second business?
My second business. So I'm in the throes of launching that. I did a soft launch a month ago. It's an online, again, a collaborative business. I managed to convince 5 amazing yoga teachers to work with me to bring forward pre-recorded video platform for those that are time poor, might not be able to get to the gym and to specific yoga classes, and might want to just do yoga in their own time. Basically, what I say is down dog in your comfort of your own home. So it's an online platform that is building into a holistic platform with other services as well. We've got a spine therapist, I've got a personal trainer, I've got a nutritionist for those that want to try yoga for the first time or get more out of their practice.
And what's it called?
It's called dynamicyoga.com.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you, Teo, for sharing your knowledge, your business experience with us. So I'm just going to summarise a few points here. There's some interesting lessons that we've learned here. Start with a plan. It's a great idea in anything in life. Start with a plan. All right, have some sort of business plan and set some clear goals and direction for your business. At least know where you want to go. What was interesting is, was also mentioned to us, was think big. I can't emphasize that enough. Think big, think bigger. Because often what I find with my experience working with people who do business plans, often they do think too small. They've got big ambitions in terms of what they want in their personal life, but when they get it written down in their business plans, they're often quite modest in what they want to do. Go big, and go bigger. You also talked about, you shared with us a bit about capitalization, the importance of cash. I can't emphasize cash flow. I don't know how we can emphasize cash flow any more than that. But what was also interesting was mentioned was not just having cash flow as in regular money coming into the business, but also plan to be capitalized, to have enough money to be able to fund. When you do get those big opportunities, how are you going to fund them? We can talk about other things, I'm sure we'll do on other shows. We'll talk about some other options that are available for you in the marketplace where you can pre-fund products or the banks can actually help you with factoring and other things like that. The other one you mentioned was also about, I think you mentioned some implications about diversifying. It's sometimes when you are in business, you don't know where you're going to end up, and when an opportunity comes along, you can be a bit fluid about business and maybe take up an opportunity. So some great tips. I think we've had some great stuff from both Michelle and Teo. Yeah, just in closing, we're going to make it a regular feature where we're going to talk about how we can scale the scalability of businesses and how we can think more globally. You've just heard some really good examples of how you can scale your businesses and how you can think globally. The market potential is the whole world, and we're going to be talking with different people about how they've done it and how you can do it, how you can get your business to reach a much wider market. And this is part of Mind Your Business on HMP TV. We're going to be doing this on a regular basis. I'm Asari St Hill. I'm a business coach, part of action coach. If you want to get hold of me, you'll see my details online. Thank you.